Well, thank you guys for being here. Suse, we're glad to be here and chat with you guys. I don't know if anyone knows about Suse, know who Suse is. We've been around for almost 3 decades now. We sort of cut our teeth early on in this area of business critical Linux. And it was, again, almost 30 some years ago when we started to do this. We were the first enterprise Linux distribution to come to the market. And at the time, we were solving different kinds of customer problems or challenges. We dealt with, how do we eliminate downtime, some simple things like that. And what about security? How do we secure the workloads that are running on our platform? But as years went by, we had to transform. We had to add more value as everything changes in the technology world so quickly that we had to find solution after solution because customers are running into different challenges. And so our job is to always help them transform to the next level. And so the cloud comes out. What are we doing to make sure that Linux is available in the cloud? And so we provide solutions for that, and we grow. And so we start to fill in these other boxes. We deal with hybrid architectures. And then as things change, we start to see the entrance of, so the cloud comes along, and then we start to see where the cloud begins to leave the cloud from a Kubernetes perspective and show up in on-premise areas. And so we began to investigate, what does this mean? We've already been doing a Linux platform. We know how to do platforms. And in fact, we know how to do platforms, and we built a management tool because as our Linux platforms begin to grow, you got to have some way of managing them. And from that perspective, management of the life cycle is all about patching and security updates, revision changes, all of that. But here comes this new seemingly platform called Kubernetes, because there are applications that run on this platform. And so what is this all about? What does this mean to SUSE? What can we do to be a part of this? And so we began to investigate and build an engineering component around this, because it's core to what SUSE does. We know how to be a platform. This is just a new changing platform called Kubernetes. And so a couple of years ago now, we purchased a company called Rancher Labs. They were a Gartner Magic Quadrant company, and as we looked at them, they were doing what we were doing on the Linux side for Kubernetes. They had a great Kubernetes platform, and then they had a management tool to help manage those Kubernetes platforms. So when you sit back and you look at this slide, on the left, we've got our business critical Linux with a platform and a management, technology or system that goes with that. And then on the right, we've got a Kubernetes platform with a management system for that. So mirrors of each other, just solving the problem of being a very good platform for all of the workloads and all the other vendors to build applications around. And it didn't take long, and we'll see a couple slides, I'll talk about this. It didn't take long before we started to recognize that there is another emerging area or market, and that's the edge. And we felt like we were supremely positioned to deliver at the edge, because at the edge, you're going to need one of two things. You're going to need a platform like a Linux platform or a Kubernetes platform at the edge. And we have both of them sort of in our back pocket. We now have, with the two main areas at the top here, we've got a practice that is that's core to what we do, and we can deliver on that. We know that very well. We know how to be the platform and how to manage it. So to us, the edge is a great new marketplace to go. But one of the things that we did a little differently, because we didn't want to just be just like everybody else that's in the sandbox, On the left-hand side, you'll see Rancher. From a Kubernetes perspective, we've got our RKEs, now version 2, RKE2 and K3S as our distributions for Kubernetes. And then on the Linux side, we have our SLES and the various iterations of our SUSE Linux Enterprise Server. But our approach is an open approach. So if you look on the right-hand side, our Linux management tools manage our Linux distributions as well as others. So we're not trying to lock you into only being able to leverage SUSE all the time. We're saying use whatever works for the workload, for the certifications that you need. If you're going through any kind of mergers and acquisitions, you have no idea what's going to be coming on board. We're saying, let's help the customer manage whatever the environment is that they have. Let's not try to lock them into just our own. Let's be open about this. And that's the same for Kubernetes. While we do have our own Kubernetes distributions, our management tool can manage other Kubernetes distributions. And in fact, all we require is that they are CNCF certified, Cloud Native Compute Foundation certified. So as long as it's not, as long as it follows a standard, then we will support the importing and managing of that Kubernetes cluster from within our interface. So it's an open approach to management and not a lock-in approach. Now, what's interesting about this slide, and it's describing edge computing is going to be 4 times larger than the cloud. It's funny, many, many moons ago, there were slides like this that talked about how the cloud was coming and how big the cloud was going to be. And then not long after that, again, in our world, things change so fast. Not long after that, we start to see other slides talking about here comes Kubernetes to, the hybrid data center, environment. And it's going to be blah, blah, blah big. And so now we've got edge computing. Who knows if it's going to actually reach those numbers, but regardless, by 2025, we know that edge computing is going to grow. It's going to grow fast, and people are going to be adopting it. They're going to be leveraging this. And so what do? We know how to be a platform and how to manage them. We know that as these edge locations grow, the challenges are going to be, how do I manage them? How do I scale them? How do I secure them? How do I architect all of that? And this is a perfect fit for us. We know how to be those platforms and we know how to manage them. And so it's a great challenge for us as we go forward, trying to help our customers in these areas. And you'll see definitions like this, the near edge. This, I think Satara had a slide earlier, edge and then the far edge. And so you'll see this broken down because there are, edge means different things to different people. What might be edge to one person is different than what might be edge to somebody else. But there are certainly areas that edge breaks down into. And so we'll have areas of focus where we're trying to deliver a solution that fits perfectly for that particular edge, scenario. And like I said, I don't know what everybody's edge looks like. Some of our customers that we have today, edge looks like this to them. Other customers, this looks like edge. They're all edge. And this brings into the notion of cloud to the edge. All of these edge devices talking to the cloud, talking to something usually. They're all interconnected. How do we manage them? How do we secure them? How do we make sure that they are reliable, follow certain guidelines, and that we can secure them? So that's a big deal, and we feel like we're in a great position to solve that as this market evolves. And so if I break down all of the previous slides into one that sort of describes what our offerings are, on the bottom, we've got the infrastructure layer, which really just describes where do your workloads need to live. Are they in a dev environment? Do they need to live on-prem data center? I talk to customers all the time that have to run certain things in their data center. They can't move all and everything to the cloud, even though they have some. We love the cloud, love what it's done, and have a great presence there. But again, all the way to the edge, there's an infrastructure place somewhere where a solution needs to be put for a workload to run. And then on or in those areas, we've got to figure out what is the right solution to run in those environments. There is the Suse Linux Enterprise Server, again, the one that's been around, since the beginning. All the different iterations around high performance compute, SLES for SAP as an ERP solution, and then even into the SLE Micro world. SLE Micro is the offering that fits into the edge world because it's really, really small, purpose-built operating system to provide a platform, for a particular workload. And then we have our management tool that does all the managing of those various servers and clusters wherever they may live. And then as we move up the stack, we have our Kubernetes, where our Rancher lives, where we have our 2 Rancher distributions of Kubernetes, RKE2, version 2 now, and K3S, plus some other things that deal with storage and security around containers. And then we have on top, we have our Rancher manager that manages all those clusters, similar to our SUSE manager on the Linux side. And that sort of breaks everything down in terms of the layers and where they live, and then all the support and services that go along to helping manage that. But that's really about it. I thank you guys for your time. Kind of short and sweet. I didn't have time to look in the chat, so I don't know if there's any questions, but there's time for them if there are any. Otherwise, I'll turn it back to you.